Sophs. I do Anonymous for the Voiceless in Switzerland, and I'm also on the induction team, so I give this information to people around the world. And first of all, I just want to say thank you to David for putting this on. I think you're doing such a great job here, and I'm so happy to be here. And thanks to Seb for your presentation and your presence. And also I want to say in Anonymous for the Voiceless, we always encourage people to attend at least one vigil, to remind ourselves why we do it. That was the first piece of advice when I went to my first cube in London, and I went back to Switzerland where we have a movement a bit similar, and I saw animals get slaughtered, and immediately it set me straight in my heart. It was really hard, but to me it really showed me why I was doing this, and that I'm really in this for the animals, because they really need us. Anonymous for the Voiceless was founded in 2016, in April 2016, in Melbourne, Australia, by Paul Bashir and Asal Alamdari. They're a couple, and they're still the directors of the organizations. I'm going to go over some numbers right now. We've had about 4,000 demonstrations to date in those 2 years, in just over 700 cities, in I think just over or about 70 countries, by just over 1,000 organizers. This has resulted in about 2,000 and 15,000 conversions to date. I will explain later what exactly we mean by that number. Right now I'm just going to go through the cubes I put together. You can go through the slides. We've got Basel, we've got the UK, we've got a cube in Mexico, a cube in the USA, Thailand, Korea, Spain, should have been Barcelona really, UK, Portugal, back to South America and Chile, Denmark, Australia, where it started, UK again, you can see that big cube. This was a cube recently in Essen in Germany. I put this together before the last Cube of Truth in Berlin. As you can see, the cubes are all the same. We work on the principle of the Martin Luther quote, that those who love peace must learn to be as organized as those who love war. So I'm now going to describe how we organize, and this is the reason why. Right? So the cube rules, as you saw with all the pictures, we make sure that they're the same across the world, which is why we disperse our information the way we do. We want to be as professional as possible. The cube is an art installation. It's there to catch the eye of the people, so we wear masks and we hold laptops, we show footage, or we hold a sign that says truth, right? So when people walk by, they see us, they're interested, they don't know what we're doing, they want to come by, and then they look at our laptops, and we mostly show footage of local animal agricultural practices, right? So I saw that poll and I just downloaded the video that we show here. And basically what we do is we want to show what happens to animals on a day-to-day basis near us, because if we show things from a different country, people can easily dismiss that, it's different in my country, and then they walk on. If we show things like, for example, we show one cow getting beaten up somewhere, it's a horrible thing to happen. But also people can dismiss that as well, there's always the one bad farm, there's always the one bad employee. What we really want to do is show what happens to animals every day, so that people run out of excuses. We try to show what is considered humane slaughter. We try to show organic, free-range, happy cows, so that people, we want to really shatter the illusions. I clung on to these illusions for a really long time. I live in Switzerland where the animal laws are supposed to be the best in the world until we show people the footage and help them make the connections. What we want when people are in the cube, we ask that they stand up straight, that they look right ahead, that they don't speak to each other, don't look around, don't check for the time. And this is to ensure that the cubes look as good as they can, because the better the cube look, the more impact we have on people. The more impact we have on people, the more they stop, etc. We can have better conversations, all right? So there are 3 instances when people are in the cube. Am I speaking too fast? Am I okay?
No, that's fine.
Okay, just checking. There are 3 instances that people can get out of the cube for, and in order to get out of the cube, in order to keep the aesthetics of the cube, they'll raise their hand like this, and those 3 instances are if they need to take a break. Usually our demonstrations last about 3 hours. We don't expect someone who's in the cube to spend all that time in the cube. Whatever people can do, we're grateful for. You know, we also want people to take care of themselves. And so if they need to take a break, they'll raise their hand. If there's a child that looks like they're under 12 years old and they're watching the videos, the person in the cube would raise their hand. The people outside doing outreach will go over and they'll find out what it is. And the person in the cube, you know, be mindful, don't start pointing and disrupting the whole thing. They'll alert us that there's a child watching. This isn't because we don't want the children to watch the videos, but we want to make sure that it's okay with the parents. So we would go find the child's parent or guardian, and we would make sure that it's okay for the child to watch the video. And the third instance, if the person wants to get out of the queue, that a person can raise their hand for is if they see that someone's been watching the video for quite a long time, that would be over 60 seconds, then they'd raise their hands to alert someone on outreach in case they haven't been spotted, to make sure that we have a conversation with them. I'll explain why the time limit in the next part. Right now this is the key part, and there's a second part to the event. Again, all these rules are there because we get taken as seriously as our professionalism. So we try to always have a high level of professionalism in all our cubes throughout the world. All right, that's the first part of the event. The second part of the event is outreach, right? So as I said before, there's a time limit. We don't just approach people when they start watching the videos. First of all, Anonymous for the Voiceless, we do a non-intrusive form of activism. We don't try to impose a conversation on someone. You know, I don't know if you're anything like me, but if someone tries to tell me what to do, tell me what to think, and just impose something on me, they're not gonna have a good time. You know, we want people to come to us. Like, we don't, we don't just jump in someone's face, we wait 30 to 60 seconds, absolute minimum. This is a process of pre-selection. Make sure that it's long enough for the person to have the time to register what they're seeing and have the time to process what they're seeing. A lot of the times you'll see the people, they'll look around, they want to speak to us. They will ask us, hey, what are you doing here? What is this? Why are you doing this? They come to us. If they don't come and look for us immediately, waiting 30, 60 seconds or more, and we approach them, it makes sure that they want to have a conversation with us, that they're open-minded enough. The way we approach people is in our outreach, we use the Socratic method of outreach. This means that we ask open-ended questions, right? Because if we go up to someone and we do lock questions, that's yes or no, it kind of cuts a conversation. We want to have conversations with people. We want them to think. We're here to empower people to think. Anonymous for the Voiceless has an abolitionist stance on animal exploitations. This means that we want people to start thinking, and if they start thinking, the logical conclusion is always going to be the same. We bring it back to a full vegan conclusion. If someone starts going like, oh, I'm gonna eat less meat, that's really great, anything is great, but we want to bring it back to a full vegan conclusion because that's what we're about for the animal liberation. So basically, we'll start usually with the opening question. You know, be a normal person when you introduce yourself. Hey, I'm Sophie. Have you ever seen this kind of footage before? Is a great opening line because then you can start gauging the person. You know, if they say yes, oh really? Where have you seen it? Did you stop and watch it? How does this make you feel? And then you can start guiding the conversation towards animals, environment, or health, but always bring it back to a full vegan conclusion. We're always polite during our event. We're here to break the stereotype of the angry vegan. You know, a lot of people see us quite negatively. I know that when I first went vegan, I did all the mistakes in the book. I was super self-righteous. You know, I went around and telling people how wrong everything was, and they were like, Sophie, you were eating meat 3 days ago. You know, it didn't really work. And then I learned more and more how to do this in order to be more appealing to people, because a lot of people have that image of the ranting soapbox vegan. So we're always polite. We always want to leave people on a good impression, no matter how the conversation goes. And I know sometimes that's a little bit challenging. You know, don't waste your time in a conversation. If someone's not ready to hear it, or you know they just don't really get it, and you're hitting yourself against a brick wall, we would exit that conversation and try to have a conversation because that time could be spent with someone who's more receptive and who's more ready. But as long as we're planting seeds everywhere, that's what's really important. Before that, the number of 214,000, I believe, was the number of conversions throughout the world. All right. What we mean by conversions is we use the term quite loosely. We don't just think that people are going to go bam vegan on the spot. It has happened, but yeah, it's a bit more rare than the rest. What we mean by conversion is if someone gets emotionally involved in the conversation, they ask questions, they're receptive, they're interested, they take their time, you can see them emotionally connect, they're watching the videos, right? And you keep talking to them, then we would count that as a conversion. You know that they're going to start making kinder choices. You know that you've empowered them to do their own research. And at the end of the day, I think that's what we strongly do. We want to empower people to do their own research. We would close the conversation with a closing card. I've put here the example that we have in the German part of Switzerland. I don't have a Polish one, but I'm sure you guys have an equivalent here. What we have is a card that on one side has the anonymous for the Voiceless logo, and on the other side would have a bunch of links to documentaries, to books, and to movies and things like that. And then at the end, we would give people that card and empower them to do their own research. Now, just keep in mind one thing. With our numbers of conversions, we're super conservative. We ask people to be really, really conservative. We'd rather someone come and have 0 conversion, and it's still a perfect number. It means that that person showed up, that they tried their best, that they're out there learning, motivated, trying to do things for the animals. You know, like it's not a competition. We ask people, leave your ego at the door. We're not here to inflate numbers. We're here to do street-based activism. You know, we're here to really plant seeds everywhere, and sometimes people are a lot more ready than others. So we would get that number of conversions. People get it after the event. We feed it back to Anonymous for the Voices, and to date, that's the number that we've had, 214,000. We're quite sparing in the way we hand out our closing cards as well. We're not a leafleting event. We don't just want everyone to just have a card. You know, we don't just go over like, hey, I'm Sophie, have a card. You know, we want people to take our cards seriously because we want to be taken seriously. It's a super serious matter. It's a matter of life and death. So, you know, and not every card would count as a conversion. Sometimes we just give a card to someone who might ask for it, who might have a slight interest, but, you know, they may not get the feeling that they're going to really start making a change. So we'd give them a card, but it's not card conversion. It's more of a gut feeling. But they're both quite conservative in the way they're counted. I also like to have a pen on me because sometimes when, you know, if they're really interested in the animals, we have earthings on our card. I would do a little cross next to earthing because if someone goes home and they kind of forget a bit about the conversation, people mostly don't remember what you say, they remember how you make them feel, right? And they go home and they're like, oh shit, like what was it again? And they pick up a card and, you know, like during the conversation, I was like, ooh, earthing, and I do a little cross next to the card. A few days later, they might see that cross and it might give them a little bit more of a push to go and watch that documentary. That's how we run our events. I know Seb beat me to my question and asked before who'd been to a few cubes, and I only saw a few hands. So I just want to ask this, who's going to come to their first cube today? That's amazing. Welcome, you guys. You know, I think we should give you a round of applause. Awesome. I'm going to finish this on a few fun facts about AV. This picture here is the highest altitude cube that ever took place. It's 2 people. Go to the...
The one on the right is actually my friend from Barcelona. His name is David. And he's from Manchester actually. I don't know, the other one is actually the first person who ever, the first vegan who ever climbed Mount Everest. And now he does the trekking, like people pay to have him as a leader for the trek. And we did receive a message to the announce for the Voices page saying, I am one of the 2 people who took a card from these guys, and me and my partner are watching the documentary to start looking into going vegan.
Yeah.
So it was effective. They didn't have to do it only for 5 minutes because they were freezing, but they still managed to find some people.
that messes up my next part, but exactly that. No, it's good because I didn't know who they were, but that was the cube that took place at the highest altitude. And like exactly that story proves that outreach can be wherever you are. There's no limit. Another fun fact is that the Cube of Truth was based on the earthing experience and just more structured and improved with time. Outside of Australia, Chicago in Illinois was the first cube that took place in the world. And a fun fact that I learned recently was that a TV got smashed at a demo in Australia with a Rubik Cube. And I wish I could tell you more, but I can't. On the 5th of November 2017, over 180 Cubes of Truth took place around the world as Cubes Day, the first Cubes Day. We're going to have a Cube Day this year on the first Saturday of November. I believe it's November the 3rd. We can't do it on the 5th because Cube Day is better on a Saturday. And I'm seriously hoping to have way more than double that. So no pressure, Poland. And then the last fun fact is on the 5th of May 2018, the London team held a 12-hour Cube of Truth, and one volunteer spent 11 hours in the cube. So no pressure for your first cube. Yeah, and just off the bat, we just broke any kind of anonymous for the Voiceless records a month ago in Berlin with over 1,000 activists. And do you remember the amount of conversions?
3,900, 3,600?
It changed after, like about 3,600 conversions in a 24-hour Cube of Truth with activists that came from all over the world. It was absolutely insane. That's it for me, really. If you guys have any questions or comments, I'm here. Otherwise, ta-ta.